Who would have thought a drink that originated in the small lab of a kidney specialist would take over 67% of the entire sports drink market? A drink which was designed to help University of Florida's losing football team would become the official sports drink of the NBA, NFL, NHL, and literally every league that you love, selling $12,000 worth of their products per minute. They have literally created a benchmark in the sports drinks category. With a remarkable revenue of $6.7 billion US, Gatorade single-handedly generates more than the combined total of all other sports beverages, which includes Prime, Powerade, Body Armor, and others. But did you know? It all started with a football coach's curiosity. It was the summer of 1965. The University of Florida football team was losing almost every single game. Coach Ray realized that was not only about skills or training, but also has something to do with the hot Florida sun. So he went to his friend, Robert Cade, and inquired about the issue. "Why don't football players go pee during the game?" he simply asked. Cade sort of figured out that these football players were sweating insanely during the match, and it was a classic case of severe dehydration. He also realized that this could be the cause of their poor performance, and that's why this urine magic was also happening. To remedy this condition, Professor K decided to create a product which could limit the effects of dehydration so that these players can pee again. Just kidding. His actual goal was to boost the performance of these athletes, so he first listed down the things these players were missing. Some of them were missing their X's, but the number one thing in this missing list was still sweat. Cade then identified the key elements of sweat and tried to synthesize a drink, adding water, fructose, sodium citrate, and monopotassium to restore all crucial electrolytes which players were losing during the game. Basically, it was artificial sweat, and guess what? It tasted like sweat, or even like urine in some cases. Players vomited it out everywhere, complaining about its disgusting flavor, which was a genuine problem. But thank God for Mrs. Cade, who suggested adding a bit of citrus into the mix, and boom, suddenly it became drinkable.
I asked my wife what we could do about that, and she said put lemon juice in it.
I remember staying up late at night squeezing lemon juice into these big vats.
After using this drink, Florida Gators started dominating the game, where most of the team were still struggling against intense heat. Gators were hydrated and energized even in fourth quarter. The effect was clear. They started winning the game when they used Gatorade and lost when he did. In 1967, when Florida Gators won their first Orange Bowl against Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they credited Gatorade as a contributor to their success. Even Yellow Jackets coach Bobby Dodd acknowledged the impact of Gatorade. After the match, he remarked, "We didn't have Gatorade, and that made a difference." This event gave Gatorade an amazing popularity nationwide, and soon it became a product that teams felt was necessary to win football games. Robert Cade and his fellows initially considered the name Gatorade for this drink because they believed that it worked as an aid for Florida Gators football team. But then they realized using the "aid" suffix might make people think that the drink was a medicine, and they also have to deal with medical tests and regulations. To avoid this, they decided to go with Gatorade, and that's how the world's first sport drink said hello to the world. However, these scientists were not marketing geniuses and did not know how to run a company, so in 1966, they approached University of Florida, offering to sell their entire Gatorade production for $10,000. But the university gave them a big no thanks and moved on.
"We've come up with this idea and we'll give it to you if you will take it and run with it." And they specifically said, "You gotta think we're nuts." We're not in the soft drink industry. We're not in the soft drink business. So go on and do what you want to do with it.
By March 1967, officials from the canned food company, Stokely Van Camp, traveled to Florida to negotiate a deal with Gatorade. Robert Cade and his fellow scientists wanted to sell the entire company for $1 million US, but Stokely Van Camp was unsure of the demand, so they offered $30,000 US in cash and a 5-cent per gallon royalty. And this was the first milestone in Gatorade's establishment as a brand. Van Camp first put Gatorade in the same 32-ounce cans they used for beans and pork. However, these cans soon started rusting from the inside and leaking the beverage, so they smartly switched to plastic bottles, a perfect way to keep your sports drink fresh and free from any accidental bean seasoning. They marketed it as the beverage of the champions, and sales started soaring throughout America. But as the company achieved its success, University of Florida called back.
They came and said, hey, you couldn't do that because you were developing that while you were an employee of the university. It belongs to us.
And you actually did it on your own time.
Absolutely.
Dr. Robert Cade also wrote in his autobiography, "They told me Gatorade belonged to them and all the royalties were theirs. I told them to go to hell, so they sued us." After a few months of lawsuit and legal proceedings in 1972, Gatorade decided to settle an agreement, giving 20% of their royalties to University of Florida. Now, this royalty has become the biggest source of revenue for the university. They have already accumulated more than $250 million US, with an annual revenue of approximately $20 million US. From the late 80s to the early 21st century, Gatorade has experienced a roller coaster of acquisitions. In 1983, when Quaker Oats acquired Van Camp, Gatorade began to rise to national fame. In 1977, the company secured its spot as the NFL's official sports drink by spending $25,000. And in 1984, it struck a similar deal with the NBA. These athletic leagues helped the company to become the godfather of sports drinks, associating the brand image with athleticism and sports. But this success attracted some big sharks, fearing that Gatorade would develop a monopoly on the sports drink market, the market which they created, by the way. Coke also started building their own version of Gatorade, and in 1988, they hit the market with a new sports drink, which they named Powerade. At that time, Coke already had a network base in 175 countries. However, Gatorade was only operating in 13 countries. So Coke welcomed this new drink with the red carpets of the Olympics, where Powerade became the official sports drink of the Summer Games. But despite the big marketing muscle of the Coca-Cola company, Powerade managed to capture only 15% of the market. Meanwhile, Gatorade was still dominating the huge 73% of the total market share. So you think Gatorade would be celebrating the win, right? But instead of ignoring this tiny competitor, they pulled out the big guns. And when we say big, we're talking about 6'6". In August 1991, Gatorade signed Michael Jordan to a 10-year contract worth of $13.5 million. To top it off, they launched their legendary Be Like Mike ad campaign, which turned out to be one of the most successful commercials ever. The campaign was so fruitful that it boosted Gatorade's annual revenue from $681 million to over $1 billion within a year of its debut. By the 90s, the company had exploded onto the global stage, selling its product in over 45 countries. They were generating more than $300 million in annual sales, with a stunning 20% growth year after year. These big figures attracted PepsiCo's attention, and the beverage giant acquired Quaker Oats for $13.4 billion in 2001, and the rest is history. There are a number of things I can talk about Gatorade, but literally one of the coolest things in their journey is the Gatorade shower. You remember that epic moment when a team goes all out and drenches their coach with Gatorade? It's like a sports party that's almost become a tradition. This whole thing started back in the mid-80s when New York Giants defense Jim Burt totally soaked his head coach, Bill Parcells, with a surprise Gatorade shower after a tough game. Soon, other teams also adopted this practice, and it quickly turned into a ritual for every winning team. It got so popular that now there are even betting sites where you can place a bet on what color of Gatorade will be used for the final shower. So far, this tradition is working as a free marketing campaign for the company. The company plays along with this hype by sending out gifts and certificates to celebrate these splashing moments. So next time when you see that Gatorade shower, just remember, it's not just a messy celebration, it's a win-win for both the teams and Gatorade. But who would have thought a drink which aimed to energize people would cause a star athlete to lose his Olympic spot? Isam Asinga, a teenage athlete, sued Gatorade after getting contaminated by a banned substance, GW1516. This not only damaged the player's reputation, but also caused his ban from the 2024 Paris Olympics. And this isn't the first time that the company has found itself in deep waters. In 2013, Gatorade faced the first major backlash for using brominated vegetable oil, BVO, in some of its flavors. BVO, a chemical which is banned in several countries due to potential health risks. However, PepsiCo first argued that BVO is permitted by the FDA, but ultimately they had to remove it when over 200,000 people signed a petition demanding its removal. Gatorade also ran into trouble when they promoted the idea that water is insufficient for hydration during a physical activity.
Bobby! Water sucks. Gatorade is better. What? Use it on the field.
Their advertisements even claimed that the drink moved through the body 12 times faster than water. When this claim was found to be false, it sparked widespread criticism of their marketing practices, and eventually they were forced to remove these misleading claims from their ads. The company has also faced criticism over its use of artificial colors. Gatorade's vibrant flavors, like Glacier Freeze and Lemon Lime, might look fun, but they come from artificial dyes like Yellow 5 and Blue 1, which have been linked to hyperactivity, allergies, and even cancer concerns. So while your drink might be a rainbow in a bottle, it comes with some serious dark clouds. Gatorade's story is like a blockbuster movie in itself. It's got everything: brilliant scientists, athletic superstars, and a university that cannot decide if it wants to be the cool cousin or the greedy uncle. Seriously, when Cade first approached them, the university was like, nah, we're good. Go find someone else to fund your crazy science experiment. And when they did it to themselves, they're like, wait, this thing is actually making money. We actually want in. It's kind of shady, right? Now, Gatorade's royalties are university's biggest source of revenue, but the question is, did they really deserve it, or was it just a loophole in the system? Please share your opinions in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.